Welcome to Follow the Money, everybody. I'm Eric Bowling. My special guest tonight, former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin. Lots to talk about, Governor. Thanks for joining us so far.
Thank you. I'm glad to get to speak with you, Eric.
It's always a pleasure. Always great to hear your thoughts. A lot of news today. First of all, you said Newt Gingrich is a front runner, but listen to what New Jersey Governor Chris Christie had to say about Newt.
We all know the record. I mean, he was run out of the speakership by his own party. He was fined $300,000 for ethics violations. This is a guy who's had a very difficult political career at times and has been an embarrassment to the party.
Ooh, an embarrassment to the party, Governor. Do you care to take Mr. Christie to task for that comment?
I do care to take him to task. Poor Chris, this was a rookie mistake. He played right into the media's hand. Here, the host had asked Chris, does Newt embarrass the party? I think he asked him twice, and there, Chris played right into it and, spewed that about, Newt embarrassing the party. Sometimes, if your candidate loses in just one step along this path, as was the case when Romney lost to Newt the other night, and of course Romney is Chris Christie's guy, well, you kind of get your panties in a wad and you may say things that you regret later, and I think that that's what Chris Christie did. His answer, his response to what the media was asking him, Eric, was, I think, reflective of a lack of self-discipline. And, I've learned my lessons all along the way, too, and not responding, not playing into the media's hands when they're trying to get you to say something like, is this candidate an embarrassment to your party? Chris played right into that.
So he may or may not have wanted to say that. You think he just kind of got suckered into that, kind of led down the dark alley, so to speak?
Well, I think it was a rookie mistake, and I think if Chris were asked about some of his past actions, taking a state helicopter to his kid's baseball game, some people may say, well, that sort of embarrassed your party, Chris, and he would then be on the receiving end of a comment that maybe he wished that somebody kept as an inside thought and not blasting that to the rest of the nation. He's been in office a year or two is all, and I think that he'll learn that the media, they goad you. They want you to say things like that in order to boost ratings and make this more of a reality show type scenario that we're watching in the GOP primary, and a comment like that just kind of played right on into that narrative. Plus what it did, Eric, he just produced an ad for the Democrats. If Newt is the nominee, he just handed them free this negative PR ad that they're going to incorporate into their negative scenario against, somebody who came out there against Hillary Care back in his day, who came out balancing budgets, working with the Democrat governor, who came out cutting taxes and trying to rein in government growth in order to put the country on the right track back then, and has intentions of doing that today.
All right, Governor, I'm going to try and do it again because I like my ratings high as well. But look, you said if I were a South Carolina voter, I would vote for Newt, and that was last week. And boy, that had a resounding effect on a lot of conservatives who are looking to kind of get an idea of who they should vote for between Gingrich and Romney. If you were a Florida voter, Governor, would you say the same thing?
I think that's a good question. And what I would say is for Florida voters to really tune in to what, the media is doing to the candidates, and if they're playing fair, and if they're asking all the candidates the same disclosure questions and the same questions about background and experience and intentions, and also watch to see what some in the GOP machine, the kind of elite machinery that wants to run the show and doesn't want to see a whole lot of shake up there in Washington, D.C., because they're kind of content with some of the crony capitalism that they benefit from, too. So they don't want to see a big shake up from any kind of maverick or, any candidate who would dare go against the wishes of some of the GOP elite. So watch, voters, what the media and some of the GOP machine do to any of the candidates, and if they seem to be unfairly attacking and, kind of going off the deep end with one or two of the candidates, run the other direction and vote the other direction, because you'll know what the motivation is behind the media, some in the machine, as they attack us, the one person that they don't want to see get in there and really affect change, somebody who has experience working on what needs to be done with budgets, with reining in government growth, with cutting taxes.
And Governor, when you say us, you mean the conservative base, right?
The conservative base, Tea Party Americans, independents, people there in Florida who understand that what we need is some Reagan-esque there in the White House. And you need a candidate who understands that cutting taxes and has experience in cutting budgets and cutting taxes and working on both sides of the aisle to make sure that the Democrats understand that cutting taxes and reining in the growth of government does more for liberty and for this economic turnaround that is needed than anything else. So just paying attention to who that candidate may be is going to be key to really the nation's success. And another step towards that success is what's going to happen in Florida.
Governor, a lot of the post-election, post-voting, South Carolina voting debate and writing has been around the conservative roar. Hear the roar or ignore the roar at your own peril. Newt Gingrich seems to have tapped into that, the discomfort with the size of government, the ignoring the conservative base that's been going on, not only by the Democrats, the liberals, but also by the establishment Republicans. Care to comment?
Yeah, and playing into that too, kind of that meme has been this notion from the media and from more moderate or even liberal players in the GOP. They've tried to really tamp down the influence of the Tea Party movement. That goes right along with what you're saying there, Eric. And Newt Gingrich, and in many respects Ron Paul, and with his economic austerity policies that he's proposed, and in a lot of respects what Rick Santorum has espoused, and sometimes even what Mitt Romney has espoused, is exactly what the Tea Party movement has stood for, that we're taxed enough already, and that that Reagan-esque pro-growth, pro-private sector, pro-free market entrepreneur spirit that needs to rise in America, that's what needs to be listened to, and that's what needs to be incorporated in policies coming out of the White House. So people trying to tamp down that Tea Party movement influence, too, has been a part of what you mentioned there, Eric, in trying to ignore the roar of independent patriots in America who are just saying, no, we don't want government riding our back anymore. We want it on our side. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to change what's coming out of the White House. We also need to change Congress. We need to replace those senators, too, who have just kind of gone along to get along and growing government and quashing the private sector spirit. Well, we're going to change all that.
Governor, Governor Romney has said he's going to release his taxes tomorrow. Is he too late in doing that? Is there still time? A lot of people are saying he should have done this a long time ago. Where are you on that? Do you want to see what he paid in taxes for 2010, and maybe an estimate of 2011? Does that matter?
I just want an even playing field. I'm kind of perplexed that the media isn't goading, say, Rick Santorum to release his. He said, the other night, well, I think, is he a millionaire? I think he may be a millionaire, and yet he trusts himself to do his own taxes, and they're on his computer at home, and nobody's asking him to release them. Ron Paul, he got to dismiss the taxes issue the other night in the debate by saying, well, he'd be embarrassed if he released his because he doesn't make as much money as the other guys. Well, I just want, if the media in part of this inciting reality game type scenario that's being played out in some respects, if they're going to go admit Romney to have to release his, well then let's play fair, and everybody needs to be asked the same questions. That's what I meant when I mentioned a couple minutes ago, Eric, about the game that the media plays, and again some in the GOP, and obviously on the other side of the aisle, the game that's played is, they want to pick and choose what issues will be hung on only one particular candidate. In this case, the taxes with Mitt Romney. They're trying to stick that to Mitt Romney as something very, very negative. Well, let's just play fair, even the playing field, and everybody should release if Mitt Romney has to.
Sure. Governor, let's talk about something else that's happening tomorrow. The State of the Union address, there's been a little bit of it pre-released, and it looks like it's going to be another big government speech, another push for government intervention into the private sector. Your thoughts?
It will be more reflecting of the failures of Barack Obama's policies as he's on path to accumulate $6.2 trillion in new debt. He's going to try to explain to the American public why that needs to increase. You know, we're accumulating debt at the rate of about $4.2 billion a day. And he's going to try to explain that digging ourselves further into debt is actually going to get us out of debt. That's how wacko some of these policies are coming out of the White House. He's going to try to explain that, yeah, despite the fact that we have fewer jobs today than we had when he was first elected, Barack Obama is going to try to explain to the American public, try to feed us this idea that his policies, though obviously they have failed and they go against every time-tested truth that has ever played out in the American the government system that has proven how we can get back on the right track. He's gone the opposite direction. He's going to try to explain to us why more of the same is going to be the answer. Well, the American public has really awakened, and in this great awakening, we're going to sit there listening to the State of the Union, and we're beyond scratching our heads and trying to figure out what exactly is it that he means. His speak is so Orwellian that we are just frustrated and fed up at this point. No longer puzzled or perplexed about what he's saying, just accepting that he is Orwellian. He is the opposite of what it is that we need in the White House today, and that is why people are rising up. That is why you're seeing support for people who are bold enough to take on Barack Obama and call him a socialist if need be in order to get that point across that his policies, his ideas are so wrong. We're going to sit there in the State of the Union address, and it's just going to be more confirmation that, no, we need to do the opposite of what Barack Obama is trying to tell us in order to get the country on the right track.
Governor, I'm glad you brought up the word, the socialist. You know, we've said it, we've discussed it before, but this speech tomorrow night, the State of the Union speech, is supposedly going to be the other bookend from the original speech, I believe it was December 6th or so in Kansas, where he talked about the income inequality. So he has a class warfare speech in December, and then he's going to come and say, here's how we solve it through bigger government, and by the way, I'm going to need 4 more years to get it done. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I imagine that that's what he is going to do. And the premise of the speech, I predict, will be that he needs policies to drag everybody down in order to, quote, unquote, level that playing field and create fairness for the American public, instead of allowing the private sector to rise, to allow everybody to rise, to get, that's how you even the playing field, is you reward hard work. You don't allow government to so burden our families and our small businesses, the small businesses that create 70% of U.S. jobs. You don't burden our big businesses by allowing that corporate income tax rate to be the highest in the industrialized world. You reindustrialize America and create more jobs by reducing that, eliminating the corporate tax rate. All those things that Barack Obama will spew on Tuesday night. Again, just keep in mind, if you can contrast that, we go 180, go the complete opposite of what it is that he is saying, and I guarantee you that it's the opposite policy that will get us back on the right track. It won't be what he's trying to feed us.
Governor, you sure you don't want to run? I'm trying.
You know, I'm
trying.
here.
Right now,
I'm here to support.
every fan who's watching right now is going, why isn't she run? Why? She's saying everything I need to be hearing from a presidential candidate, at least on the right. I'm telling you, we can't talk you into it, can we?
No, we've got candidates in the GOP field who are going to be able to do the job for us. We need to be united. We can't be spewing things about each one of these candidates just because maybe personally we have a burr under the saddle against one or two of the candidates and feed right into the Democrats' hands and spew this rhetoric that is so completely negative and completely hurtful to what the cause is. The cause is to contrast the GOP candidates, the entire field at this point, with what it is that Barack Obama and the White House supports and reflects and really stands for. So we need to be united, and I'm very anxious as this vetting process continues. And, you know, I'm proud of the American voter who's engaged in this GOP process, because it's tough and it's aggressive in these contested primaries. But we're going to make sure that we have the cream of the crop rise to the top in order to contrast and take on Barack Obama. So tough process, good process, but we have a GOP field who is going to be successful, and we're going to be able to make that contrast and make a big difference. All
right, Governor. And by the way, your call for more vetting of the candidates has been fantastic. It's the right thing, and it's going on. We appreciate your time, as always, Governor.
Thank you so much, Eric.
We'll see you again very soon.